The dress and grooming policy for schools is expected to be out soon and will remove the need for male Rastafarian students to cover their locks, among other things. Joining us for this discussion is the president of the National Parent Teachers Association of Jamaica, Steward Jacobs. Good morning.
Good morning, Delio. Morning,
Sir Stu, good to see you, sir.
Good to see you. Good one.
All is well?
Most things. Today's a nice day for me. My daughter's 21st birthday, so.
We'll tell her happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Marley.
Wonderful.
Happy birthday, Marley.
I want to ask, first of all, about the process for this grooming policy. Who were the stakeholders that were involved in crafting it? For example, was the Parent Teachers Association a part of the process? How do we decide what becomes policy?
We were part of the policy making, the draft that is, 'cause it's still a draft. And the members of the people from the Ministry of Education, teachers were there also, and other members of the community. But we were one of the major stakeholders there. Because parents, of course, have been affected by it. It's a policy that will go on as far as the country is concerned, with our students dress for school. And we have seen where it has disrupted schools over the period of time, where the interpretation of the rule isn't understood, or it is breached on purpose because people feel that they should dress how they want to dress their kids. And we have seen recently where the religious part of it came in, and I'm very happy with that aspect of the policy, because it will now be entrenched in law as a part of the Education Act of 1980 and the regulations of the Education Act of 1965 and the regulations of 1980, where it now becomes law that there is a dress code and a policy, a grooming policy for our children going to school. The religious part of it, especially with the Rastafarians, Rastafarian is a Jamaican religion. It's a world religion. It is recognized globally, and it is institutionalized. And so they have their dress code, and their children go to our government and private schools. They should be allowed to express themselves. What the policy does now, it allows them to express themselves. But there is a caution here. Although you have the regulation and the act exists, and the policy, drafted policy, which will come into place, because there's nothing really to stop it, because everybody is in agreement, is that the schools have the right to enact what they consider a dress code. So, for example, if the school says that you have to wear your uniform 3 inches above the ankles, that is it. The policy doesn't say that I can't. What the policy does, it gives the school more right to do it, and it also gives a parent an understanding that there exists a policy that will guide. So when there is a discrepancy and you sit to negotiate or to argue, then the policy is there as straight up guide. It's law. So don't think that how you feel is going to be it. It will be a case where the school has its law, has its policy. It is guided by the Education Act and regulations, and so everybody is on an even keel now.
Yeah. I am not certain that every dreadlock is a Rastafari, and I don't think an Anglican or a Catholic has to prove to the school that I'm an Anglican or a Catholic. Would a dreadlock have to prove that he's Rastafari, or he won't be allowed to come in with a dreadlock?
No, and the precedence has been set. Where recently there was a case where a student wore a braid, a male student wore a braid, and the school did not want him to attend the school, but that he was in breach of the school code, but he had to be readmitted to school. They had to rescind taking him from the school because that was not, you can't prove it.
Yeah. From what I got in your answer to Delia's question just now, the schools still have the right to say, no, I don't want you in my school, even though the draft might say you can't stop it.
Yes, the school has that right.
But isn't that contradictory?
No, it's not contradictory. What it does, it allows both parties to understand where the ministry, where the law, the law sits, because where it wasn't as clear, it was too silent. It was left up to too much interpretation. Now,
I don't want to hug this, but again, if my son goes to school and I say I want him a dreadlock, and the school says a Rastafarian, I say no, and the school says, well, the policy say a Rastafarian can come in a dreadlock. It never say anybody can come in a dreadlock.
It gives the parent and the school a good ground foundation to take that to court, because the law exists. So the law exists not just for interpretation, but the law exists also to guide.
Yep.
Okay. One of the challenges I have is information sharing. How are parents, teachers, because the law can be there, but how will the parents know what the policy is, what they can and cannot do, and so on? What is the plan to share it?
Each school has a handbook.
Ah.
Yes, there's a handbook, and the handbook is guided by the Education Act and regulations.
Okay.
In fact, before that handbook is given to parent, the Ministry of Education actually has to see and pass that handbook. You can't just do a handbook like that.
Oh.
And in the case where there isn't a handbook like a written, then these policies are said at PTA meetings or one-on-one sit down with parents or class time, that this is the rule of the school. And then you sign to it. You actually take pen and paper and sign to it that these are the regulations and the rules of this school that I will abide by. And so that's why it is a bit annoying at times when parents behave in that way, because they already know what the rules are. But let's not say annoyance, because sometimes it's not, the interpretation and understanding isn't clear. And so they will go outside, they'll breach.
Correct.
But the policy now allows the parent to look at the policy and realize something, the ministry is saying this, the school has said this, I was wrong, so I will comply. And so that understanding is
I just think there's a gray area there still, Sir Stu, because as you rightly said, schools can do what they want. I was talking to the barber just now. Some schools, I see some sixth farmers with full beard like mine. And I know some schools say, man, you can't come into my school like that. So again, especially if you go change from one school. So your school might allow something that my school do allow, and then you come across and you say, what? So I still think there's
it's a grooming policy that sets the parameters, the foundation of better governance, I think, for schools. Okay. And it allows the school now to enforce even greater what they consider best grooming. Because remember, a lot of the schools, just about 80% of our schools are church-based, trust-based, and even the trust-based schools were based on religious ideals. And so they have their policies, and one should never ask them to go against what they consider best. And we are preparing children for society, for the future. And if they are not going to abide by policies and rules of an institution, then there goes a serious problem. We have a serious problem there.
All right. Before we go, I know that you had some other concerns regarding back to school, safety, security, the nutrition policy. How are those things moving along?
Moving along as it is. I mean, one of our main concern was teacher retention. And we've seen in the last couple of hours what this means to us. We have some ideas and solutions that we have offered already. One is to re-engage retired teachers to come back to school. We have looked at using wider technology to have one teacher in one space teaching 3 schools at the same time, because the curriculum is the same as a blanket curriculum. And we've also looked at safety and security, which is a big thing for us. And safety and security dovetails into transportation to and from school. Not much has been happening, but we will do our best to ensure that the government and all the stakeholders get those things prepared for school. You might not get it in September, but certainly before the end of the school term and the school year, we'll have them in place.
Good to see you, President. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, man.
Fortis.
Forever.
President of the Parent Teacher Association, Mr. Steward Jacobs. With him forever.
Who clean sweep me last week, Saturday. Rope a cup.
Oh my gosh, on to the break. We have a chat with a male nurse who is top of his class.
Soon come.